nobody really wants to be Steve Jobs because you don't want to have so many people, dislike you. I mean, we all want to be liked. I've known people like Ron Johnson, who started the Apple stores, worked with Steve for like 11 or 12 years, creating this amazingly successful chain of stores around the world. He's like the nicest guy on earth. He would hug at the end of meetings. He was very decisive and really smart, but he got along really well with Steve. I think you could make a good argument that in the state Apple was in, it needed that really strong figure. But that's not the only way you can achieve results. Steve not only had that going for him, but he had the fact going that the fact that he was the founder of the company. He had an air of legitimacy that a string of CEOs did not have over the preceding years. I think people gave Steve leeway because he was Steve, whereas someone else comes along, like Scott Forstall, who was the head of iOS, who got fired after he was one of Steve's original people from Next. Tim Cook fired him in the first year after Steve passed away, and he was a guy who had all the traits of Steve Jobs. He was aggressive and demanding and all that stuff, but because he wasn't Steve, people, with Steve, they said, well, that's Steve, when they learned to live with it. With this guy, they would just say, what a jerk. So they didn't tolerate him because he wasn't Steve Jobs, and you can't act that way if you're not Steve Jobs. So I think, everyone has to take the lessons of Steve with a grain of salt. I think you can be a good human being and be decisive and demanding and uncompromising, but you don't have to brutalize people.